Hello, Ionavators. Welcome to this week's episode of the Ionavation podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Rodriguez.
And I'm your co-host, Eileen Cordero.
And joining us today, we have entrepreneur in residence at the Hynes Institute, Tsampalis. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you doing? Very nice meeting you.
Yeah. So, John, can you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial background and why you decided to go that route?
Yeah, of course. Many years ago, when I first got out of college, I started working on the cell phone industry, building products that we were defining at the moment to be released 2 years down the road. And the whole process was fascinating, and I got hooked. And everything that I started working after that was always about thinking how the world will change and what type of innovations technology can bring in the market. And from a career perspective, whether it was a startup or whether it's a large corporation that I worked in, it was always thinking again about the future, playing with technology, trying to understand consumer behavior. So I fell in love with the process, and that's what I've been calling a career since then.
That's a lot to take in. So you became obsessed, and it eventually became your passion. Ultimately, at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's something like when you think about innovation, right? When you think about entrepreneurship, it's about improving people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's about improving processes. It's about improving products. And whether you do this on a brand new idea that nobody has ever seen before, and you need to work multiple years to develop it, or you take an existing product and you try to think about how you can improve it. All of that incorporates what I would call the entrepreneurial spirit, right? So it's all about a mindset. It's all the mindset when you look at a challenge, you look at a product, you look at a service, and you're always thinking about how you can improve it.
Yeah.
But improving it meaningfully, right? Like it's about making it significantly better for the people who use it, or for the companies that utilize it. And that's the world moves forward. It's not always giant leaps of faith, but sometimes it's small steps forward. And it's all about thinking things differently and thinking a lot about how actually people use it and utilize it. That is a key component of the entrepreneurship environment and thought process.
Yeah.
What would you say were like some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome throughout the process of creating different projects?
Sometimes the entrepreneurial journey, it has become much more, it is what I would call it much more relevant nowadays. You guys as students you're tremendously lucky to have the Hynes Institute that tries to teach this concepts at a very young age, at a very formative age.
Yeah.
The majority of us, we had to discover this around during our work years, because education was much more structured. You're learning a lot of theory, but not necessarily always how you apply it. So that's a key component of how we approach it. So I don't think I answered the question, but you can remind me the question.
It was still like really insightful.
Yeah.
But since you were talking about the Hynes Institute, could you tell us a little bit about your role, about what you do as the entrepreneur in residence?
I'm the entrepreneur in residence at Hynes, and so I help students when they have ideas, when they have questions, help them formulate these ideas from conception all the way to what it would take to become a company or a product or a solution. So we utilize the design thinking process, we utilize the lean startup process, and it's all about like creating a mindset for the students that they can take it with them, not only while they're students here, but also at their working life when they graduate, whether they're working at a corporate or whether they decide to start their own business, or whether they are going to work at a nonprofit. It's always about looking at a problem. Everything that guys gonna do in your careers in the future. At some point, you will either have to come up with a new idea, or you will have to make a proposal to your manager, your boss, um, or if you have your own company, thinking about to your investors about how you're going to change the world. And ideas are dime a dozen, but then it's the thoughtfulness of the process of how you're going to continue that and you're going to proceed that. It's about paying attention at how consumers interact with your product. It's about paying attention to how people are using it. It's about thinking about what exists as the competition and how you are changing that, right? And so there's many. It's a multifaceted problem or a process, and so that's what we're going through. We're going through all these steps and trying to again create the mindset through the multitude of classes that the Hynes Institute has. And I'm teaching the capstone, which is the independent study, where we're trying to bring all of that knowledge together and apply it in a brand new idea that the students have.
So working with students, how are you able to help them, develop the projects that they're working on?
The most important thing is that the student, this is very important, they have to be really interested and they want to progress their idea, right? It comes with personal desire and inspiration. And then we sit down together, myself, as well as the other in residence and also faculty in different components. And we take the idea and we try to dissect it. We try to go through the design thinking process of why are you thinking about this? What problem are you solving? How your idea is different than what exists out there. Once we start, creating this definition, one of the key aspects of the entrepreneurship is about going out to your target audience and ask them the questions that talk to them about the idea, be open about your idea, and get their feedback. A lot of the mistakes one of the mistakes that the entrepreneurs are doing is often they want to perfect their idea and then go out with a final product. But the world has changed since in the last 20 years. And what is very important is once you're building something, you have to have the confidence and you have to have the curiosity. And you have to learn the way to do this, which is go out and ask people how they're using the product. Take that input, and then redefine. And so that's one of the steps we're doing. We're also helping them with building business models, thinking about the competition, thinking about the revenue streams of the product. As in a way, what it will take if you want to take this business, if you want to take this idea out in the world and become a successful company, what are the different things that you need to consider?
What would you say are some success stories that you've had with students in the past that you've worked with on these projects using business models and all the different strategies that you use?
I mean, it's extremely satisfying when we start a class like the independent study, like the students that I had last year, or even the IIC competition, where you see the students having an initial idea that it's written as 3 words on a piece of paper, and then you see the outcome of that idea after the 10, 11 weeks of process, about how they are able to articulate it, formulate it. They have already been very thoughtful designing it and thinking all the different aspects. So that is extremely satisfactory as a faculty, knowing that we help the students take something that was not formed. It's maybe it was something that they felt passionate about, but they didn't really know anything about it, to make it something that is meaningful. And hopefully, again, it's not only the destination, but it's also the process. Hopefully, everything that we are teaching them and we are helping them along the way are things that they can take with them in other projects or their working life.
So can you tell us a little bit more about where you're currently working at and how you were able to use your entrepreneurial skills for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a CEO of a startup. The startup's called Twine, and we are building a commerce orchestration platform for digital identity and payments. And so from an entrepreneurial perspective, payments is something that is everybody understands, and payments online and e-commerce. Digital identity, it's a relatively new concept, but the identity that we have, our social security numbers, our driver's license, something that physically everybody owns. And so we're creating this ecosystem where people will be able to utilize this digital identity credentials in every facet of their lives, and when they are logging into websites, or when they are traveling, or they are applying for a mortgage, or creating a bank account, and allow those credentials to be transferred from organizations that users already trust. And it's all about convenience. It's about better customer experience. But one of the areas that I'm very passionate about is data privacy. So the ability for any consumer to own their private information and be able to share with third parties only what is applicable for a specific project or a specific process, and nothing more. And so we're building an identity layer in the internet with great partners and a great team.
Yeah.
That being said, what's some advice that you would give to future entrepreneurs that are looking to be entrepreneurs with their projects in any type of industry?
I will advise them to be fearless. I will advise them to believe in themselves and be confident, because if you don't believe in your idea, nobody else will believe. I will also advise them to take their ideas and share them with trusted advisors, as well as share them with their target audience. It's going to help them a lot to save the idea, make something that's meaningful, and will also avoid them wasting time on something that people will never need or will never use. That is a key for any entrepreneur. I think as an engineer myself, was always very difficult to take your idea and start talking to people about it. You always feel shy. Sometimes you feel you're going to say something stupid, and you're never confident. But you actually have to do this, and it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
And it's part of the journey because the more you share, the better the idea becomes in terms of the feedback that you're getting back and your thought process of improving it along.
Yeah. So it's essentially just having confidence and not caring about what anybody else thinks.
Yeah. Go out, talk about this, be fearless. Don't worry about naysayers. When you're building something that you're passionate about, it means that it's something that you care, and the world will care. If it's not the original idea, it will be an idea that will be formulated through this process, and that's how every successful entrepreneur has started. The other thing that's very important is not every idea will be successful, and you will fail, and you will fail multiple times, right? But you will rise out of that, and you will be better and the next time, right? Because every journey and every failure is teaching you something that you're gonna take it to your next company, to your next project, next process, and that's extremely valuable. That's the experience that you're acquiring through that process, right? So, as I say, you guys are young, and people are innovating in their 70s, right? So you have many years ahead of you to always make meaningful changes, and whether those meaningful changes is the way that the company, your project, or your family is working, right? You always have to think about that. And trial and error is not for the faint of heart, but entrepreneurs have to be fearless, and they shouldn't be afraid to fail, and they shouldn't be afraid to pivot, right? Don't be stuck on your idea.
Wow, so this is a lot of great knowledge that you're sharing with us here. So how are students able to meet with you and gain just as much knowledge?
Yeah, as an entrepreneur in residence, we have office hours, and they are able to meet with us, through the Hynes Institute. Meet with us, schedule time. and I will see a lot of those students in different projects that or classes that they have as we are supporting all the other professors in the institute, with office hours.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, John, so much. That was very insightful. We really appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Ionavation podcast. I've been your host, Aiden Rodriguez.
And I've been your host, Eileen Cordero.
For more great content like this, to stay updated, follow us on all socials at the Hynes Institute and subscribe for more great content. And we will see you in the next episode.